Good morning, it's Dad, and today we are going to continue on Dad, I Want to Hear Your Story. I think we left off with how do you like your coffee? So I have two more pages that I'm going to go through today, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, next question. If you could live anywhere in the world for a year with all expenses paid, where would you choose? And I could not decide on one specific location. So I just wrote down a couple. So the first one was Singapore. Now I've been there a couple times for business. And while I'm not a city person, I would never live in New York City. I wouldn't live in Philadelphia. I wouldn't live in any city. But Singapore is one city that I could live in. I mean, it's beautiful, it's clean, it's safe, it's modern, gorgeous city. I think I could probably live there for a year and find enough things to do in and around the city and, of course, in Asia in general. The next place, Alaska. You know, I was there in the Army, there for 3 years. I would absolutely go back. I'd have a big, beautiful house on the side of a mountain and enjoy all of the outdoor activities. I don't ski, but I don't know, I might take it up again, or cross country skiing or snowmobiling or hiking, whatever. I could absolutely live in Alaska again. Um, a cruise around the world with all the dive stops. So if we're not talking specifically about like a location, but to live on a cruise ship and sail around the world and stop at all of the great dive sites around the world, you know, in the Caribbean and Asia and around South America, everywhere. I would love to go diving for a year living on a cruise ship. So that's what I would do or where I would live. Okay. How do you like your eggs cooked? Very weird question, right? But I guess under the dad trivia, how would you like your eggs cooked? Um, I usually like them over medium. So you get a pan, put a little butter in there, crack your egg, fry it, you know, a fried egg, and then when it's pretty much cooked on that side, you flip it over, cook it a little bit more, and I like the egg yolk runny. You got to get all the white cooked, but you have to have the egg runny. So that's probably my favorite. And actually, if you eat that with an English muffin and you use your fork and you cut all around and you eat all the egg white and then you scoop up the yolk and you put it on your English muffin and eat it with one big bite, that's really, really good. Now, lately, the way I've been making my eggs is I have my field. It's a cast iron little egg pan because I got rid of using Teflon pans because Teflon's not good for you. So I have a cast iron pan now, and what I do is I pre-cook or para-cook bacon. So I take a pack of bacon, I roll up the slices, put them on a plate, throw them in the microwave for like 5-6 minutes, and it partially cooks them, and you get, you know, a lot of the grease comes out. Yeah, you cook them on a paper towel on a plate. Um, and then put them in the fridge. So every morning when I make my breakfast, I take 2 pieces of bacon, I cut them up, put them in the pan, finish cooking them, drain the grease out, and then I take 2 eggs and I crack them into a small glass, and I whisk them up, and then I pour the egg into the pan with the bacon, and I just make like it's like a scrambled egg, but I don't actually scramble it. And then I let it cook, and when it's almost cooked, I flip it over, cook it on the other side. So then I have 2 eggs with bacon all mixed up in there, and that's my breakfast. And I've been doing that since I bought the pan when I was at Julianne's house when I was watching Zara before I went to Maine to get Faith. So that was May. So I've been eating that breakfast since May, and I'm probably good for a couple of years because you know me, once I start doing something a certain way, I have a habit and I do it the exact same way every single time. So that's how I like my eggs cooked. Preference, cook or clean? Clean every time. So when we were doing HelloFresh and Faith was cooking HelloFresh every day, I would gladly clean up. Put my earbuds in, listen to a podcast while I do dishes. I would rather clean up than cook. I can cook, but if given a preference, definitely clean up every time. What's your shoe size? I wear an 11 shoe. So and depending on the shoe, maybe it's 11 and a half, but generally size 11. What superpower would you choose for yourself? Now, this is a really, really good question because I often daydream or just think about the what if. What if I had this superpower? And I often, think about what I would do. So, and I couldn't choose just one. I don't think I could choose just one. So I wrote down a couple and I'll explain them. So the one is look back in time. Now, there's a difference between traveling back in time, like in the movies, right? There's a difference between Back to the Future and driving your DeLorean back to the future and or back in the past and interacting with people. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you could pick any point in time and you could like turn a room into like a hologram. So think of Star Trek. Think of you walked into the hologram and you go, computer, take me back to 1941, whatever. Take me back to D-Day. Take me back to the land of the dinosaurs. Take me back to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Take me back to whatever period when they built the pyramids. And poof, you're there and you can walk around, but you can't interact with anybody. Like if they were to walk up to you, they'd literally like walk right through you like you were a ghost. So you can observe and you can see and you can hear and you can smell, you can't taste. That would be you couldn't eat anything because that would be more interacting with the environment. But you could, interact and imagine all of the things that you could learn about our history, whether it's, last week, last month, last year, 1,000 years ago, whatever. You could just interact and see what's going on. I would love to see who built the pyramids. I'd love to see everything about Jesus Christ. I'd love to follow his ministry. You couldn't understand him, but you could at least see everything that happens. Um, Dinosaurs, the assassination of JFK. I'd love to sit on the grassy knoll. Roswell in the 1940s. Did they actually find aliens? Are they there? Go there. I would love to interact with the past, not interact, see it. Um, the other one, fly. Who wouldn't love to fly, right? Just Superman fly. I'd love to be able to do that. It'd be awesome. Um, the ability to connect to computers and the internet. So I got this idea in a Dean R. Coons book. I think it was either Dean R. Coons or David Baldacci. I can't remember which one. But in one of his books, this guy worked at a lab and they were experimenting with these nano robot particle things that they injected into him and it went into his brain. And they were light on the details, but the gist of it was he could connect to wireless networks. His brain could connect to wireless networks. And it's almost like his consciousness could just surf the internet. And there wasn't a computer in the world that he could not get into because everything's connected. And, firewalls, what's a firewall? He just sailed right past it. So I would love the ability to do that. Now, why do you think I would love the ability to do that? I would love the ability to do that because I would love to root out corruption in I'd love to root out corruption. The government, all of the BlackRock and State Street and all of these corporations. I would love to get into their networks, get into the government's networks, get into every network around the world and be able to like post online completely anonymous because I can do that and nobody would ever know who I was or where I was and root out corruption, root out waste and fraud and just try and make those things better. If hey, Nancy Pelosi, you're doing insider trading. I would love to call her out on it and, do that. So the ability to get into computer networks through my brain, that would be pretty cool. Okay, next one. Do I have any allergies? No, I don't have any allergies. But boy, let me tell you what. When I was a kid, and this is really weird. I used to get allergy shots when I was a kid because every once in a while I would have a massive allergy attack. I would be a mess. Watery eyes, sneezing. I would just be miserable. It looked like I was suffering from the flu, but it was just, and it would come out of nowhere. I could be fine, and all of a sudden I'd get this tickle in my nose, and bam, watery eyes, sneezing, nose running, blowing my nose. And the only thing that would help me is I would take Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine, and I'd have to go lay down. Literally, I'd have to go lay down, let the cold medicine kick in, and then maybe in an hour or two I would feel better. But otherwise, I was a mess. And that happened like in elementary school when I was a kid. And you're going to laugh at this. I used to have what the kids made fun of me. They called it my muzzle. If I had an allergy attack, to try and keep like whatever pollen or dust or whatever was in the air, I'd have this plastic respirator, and it literally looked like a dog muzzle. And I would wear this over my face. I had a little filter in the front, and it didn't really help. I tried to use it to get it to help, but it didn't. But anyway, that was my issue with allergies as a kid. What is my biggest fear? I wrote dying alone. I don't fear death. I know where I'm going. I don't fear death, but I do fear dying alone. If I was out in the wilderness someplace and I was going to die, that would really suck. So that's probably my biggest fear. Next question. What would you order as your last meal? Oh, this is good. Okay, well, first, I'd have to start with a scotch. Single malt, Johnny Walker Blue, 2 fingers, have a scotch before dinner. Then, for the main course, I would love a thick filet steak, seared on both sides, medium in the middle, with lots of mushrooms and onions. Oh, that would be so good. And alongside the steak, a fully loaded baked potato, sour cream, chives, maybe a little cheese in there, maybe, but lots of butter and sour cream. And then either steamed broccoli or asparagus with it. That would be a great meal. And then for dessert, a chocolate peanut butter cheesecake. Oh, that would be so good. Now, hopefully this last meal wouldn't mean I'm getting executed, but if I had to have a last meal, I'd say that would be a pretty good one. Have I ever broken a bone? No, I've never actually broken a bone. I've had surgeries, ruptured and herniated disc, L4, L5, knee surgery. I tore the cartilage in my right knee, and I did that at Andrew Vito's 30th birthday party. We were playing paintball, and I dove behind logs or something, and I wind up tearing the ligament or the cartilage in my knee, but never broke a bone. What is your favorite sandwich? Turkey breast on wheat with Swiss cheese, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. Oh, I could taste it. And it's weird because I love that as a sandwich, but generally every day for lunch, I have on wheat bread, peanut butter, and a banana. That's my sandwich that I eat every day. So let me see. What's our time here? We're at 14 minutes. You know what? That's pretty good for a video. I don't need to go anymore. Plus, I didn't do the next page. So in the next video, I will go ahead and the next video is the teenage years. That ought to be fun. All right. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.